Let's breeze over our last segment.
Yeah.
We just have a couple of questions from the community. We can go a bit rapid fire on these.
Okay.
Um, all right. Number one. Um, what are your thoughts on the future of Prism? I'm assuming he's taking into consideration pop count, you know, quote unquote Prism
Yeah.
is king. So I guess yeah, what's your take on the future of Prism cards?
So the way I think about Prism is that I would assume that most people that are in the sports card hobby that are not like us that are doing podcasts and content and stuff like that are doing this fairly casually. And what that means is that we all know how much research time this takes to learn. Say you want to do Luka Doncic cards. To really understand and know Luka Doncic cards that are not Prism, it takes time to learn it and it takes time to get comfortable with those cards. Now, I do think that more and more people that get into the hobby will continue to progress into lower pop Luka cards if they want to, invest in Luka. But most of the population, most of the people in the sports card hobby are doing this kind of casually. And I think what Prism becomes is a sort of player currency, which is what it kind of is now, is like player currency. Now that'll have its place, I think, in the hobby. Like I think that'll have its place in the hobby where people who are not super ingrained, like if we believe that the sports card market has the upside of a fantasy sports, right, type of feel, then what people are going to be talking about is I've got 5 Luka Prism cards, and that'll be my Luka currency, So there will be, I think that it'll still have its place. I don't think it's going to have as big run-ups as we've seen in the past because I think more people will get knowledgeable and therefore the higher pop counts will hurt the people who are in. So I do think that there's going to be a time where Prism is just not as valuable as it is today, and it's going to be kind of like baseball where it's way more affordable and there's higher pops. But I think that Prism Color, Prism Silver, those will continue to be some of the most valuable cards for ultra modern sets or even sets past 2012, right? So 2012 is the first year of Prism. Prism will continue to be the most valuable cards for those players. But it won't be Prism base, it'll be Prism Silvers, it'll be Prism, the blue Prism or the green Prism or the zebra, like whatever it's going to be. Those will be grail cards, but those will still be valuable. Like I don't think Prism as a whole goes anywhere. It's still the most recognizable set. And I honestly don't think that goes. Like you see Topps Chrome has been popular forever. Topps Chrome is the true rookie card for Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Shaq, or not Shaq, but those guys after the 96, year, it's all Topps Chrome. And that'll continue to be the case. Topps Chrome will be the case. That's going to be the same thing for like Prism Silver. Prism Silver will be Luka's true rookie card. And it just will. And if you want to get into lower pop Lucas, then you may get the select court sides or the optic hollows or something else, right? But that'll be for the niche collector community, and the majority of people will be buying Prism and Prism Silver and Prism Base the way it is. But Prism Base with its high pop count, yeah, I think that'll. I'm not buying too much Prism stuff right now. I'm trying to kind of get out of it a little bit. Because I do think that's where the risk is. So if there's a market crash, at some point, if the market declines, the first thing that'll go is ultra modern, and the second thing that's going to go is Prism base. So from a risk standpoint, you do have high risk by holding Prism, but it's a good card to flip. So if you're trying to flip cards, Prism is the way to go, and that's where it's going to go because it has the most attention. So it'll be like that. I think that's kind of the future of it. It'll be player currency. You're not going to make as much as you can make on it now, 2 years from now, but that's the world. That's the way it's going to go. So the people who transition out of Prism a little bit now will benefit because they're not buying as much. And they're still buying a little bit. Like I've got Jason Tatum Prism stuff that I'm still holding. But again, I'm not, if you're holding Prism long-term, that's the wrong, like, I don't think that's what you should be doing. Flip Prism. You want to flip Prism. But that's the function of Prism at this point, is that it's player currency. So.
All right. That's a great analysis. That's the first time I've heard of using it. I mean, thinking about it as in terms of currency, which actually does a good representation, considering how liquid and how easy it is to buy and sell. So, all right. Speaking of buy and sell, we have another question. I think this is prefaced on a different context because a question here is how to actually move cards, and part two of that is thoughts on Starstock, Comsi, and Otis. Because just for a bit of context, the buying power in the Philippines is not as strong as it is in the US. For here in the
Definitely.
Philippines, when you have a $2,000 card above, it's very tough to move. Um, because that's already six digits in our currency. So once it hits that six-digit mark, it becomes tough to sell, especially on local groups. So I guess, yeah, that's where the context of the question is, how to actually move cards when you're in a rough spot. And part two of that is thoughts on these alternatives such as Starstock, Comsi, and Otis.
Yeah. So I'll start with my, where I think the best way to move is. I do think it's eBay. Now, the reason I say eBay is because that's where all the buyers are. So in terms of eyeballs, at least here in the US, that's what I would suggest. Now, if I'm international and I want to play in the sports card market right now, this is what I would buy a PWCC vault. I would be storing my cards in a PWCC vault so that you have a domestic shipping address. Then you can move your $2,000 cards just like everybody else in the US can. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that's the first thing I would do is I would purchase a PWCC vault and move all my stuff to that vault. That way I can buy and sell that way. Now, obviously, that means that you don't have your cards in hand, they sit in a vault somewhere. But if you're doing this to make money, that's the way to do it because you're
Right.
right. When I see a card on eBay that's shipping from the Philippines, I'm scared to take that risk myself.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to I don't want that card to get lost or take a month and a half to get to me. And I don't know if the seller is going to ship it fast enough. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want my card to be lost. I don't want it to be stuck in the mail for a month. So that I understand the position that you're in. But what I would do is try to get a domestic address, and the way to do that now is PWCC. So that's what I would do if I were you. Now, in terms of StarStock, ComC, and all these other platforms, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially like buying and selling kind of raw. Star stock is perfect because it's got the star stock A, B, and C. It's got that sort of thing, and because you're not having to ship it, it makes a lot of sense. So I haven't personally done too much with star stock, but I like the idea. Theoretically, it makes sense to me. Um, so I get it. Now, again, I don't think that there's as many buyers on StarStock as there are on
Right.
eBay. So I do think it's important to be where the buyers are. That really helps in selling your cards. So ComC is good site too. I haven't done anything with ComC. I haven't done anything with StarStock. I'm getting into things like StarStock and Dibs and stuff, fractionalization and things like that right now. So I'm interested in all that stuff, but figuring out a way to buy and sell on eBay, I think is important, especially if you're international, because I do think there's a lot of opportunity here. And being international, I do think there's options. Like, I don't think it's necessarily that you have to buy and sell just locally. If you are willing to get yourself a PWCC vault, I don't see why you couldn't participate in the hobby domestically, here.
All right. That one goes to Milo Sports Cards. Hope we answered your question. I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I might even get into it myself. I had no idea that you could go around it with the whole PWCC thing. So,
Yeah, look it up. The
Yeah.
vault there, that's how a lot of people are selling their cards right now. So
So we got the next question. This is from Just Jaking. What is the impact of Lamelo Ball's season ending injury on his cards in the market?
yeah, so I think the bigger question for Lamelo Ball cards was that his only card that was really out was his hoops card. And I
right.
hope nobody was buying his hoops cards because as soon as Prism drops,
It's
hoops
gone.
This is
is
going to go
worth
even
Yeah,
nothing.
lower.
yeah. Hoops will be changed.
Hoops is nothing, right? Like hoops goes
Hoops will be
from
cents.
whatever it is to nothing overnight
Yeah.
once Prism drops. So I hope that nobody was invested in. Like honestly, when it comes to this injury, one, I don't think you should. If you were buying Lamelo Ball hoops cards, you were already in the wrong. You were already doing like that's already your mistake. Now it's okay if you made the mistake, no problem. We're all here to say that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But learn from it, move on. Like I wouldn't buy Lamelo Ball. First of all, I wouldn't buy Lamelo Ball until year 2, year 3 of his career. Now he looks awesome. I cannot believe how good he looks. he's already a star on his team. He's doing things that a rookie, like, again, we don't see rookies doing that. And rookies now who are younger and younger in the basketball world are getting better and better early. Like what Luka did as a rookie, what Trey's doing as a young star, what John Morant and Zion are doing. Like, again, usually it takes 3 to 4 years for these guys to even get anywhere close to what they're doing already in their rookie year. So the mindset has to be that one, LaMelo Ball is going to have a long career. If you believe in LaMelo Ball, be patient with LaMelo Ball. But it sucks. Like, his injury really sucks. You hate to see it. It's not fun. I wanted to buy LaMelo Ball. I would have made a LaMelo Ball buy somewhere over the next year, and I probably will. And maybe this gives an opportunity for people to get into LaMelo Ball cards that weren't already. But I think the bigger thing with LaMelo Ball is wait till Prizm drops. Make sure you're buying the right products. Don't rush into buying LaMelo Ball cards just because that's the only product out there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's actually the bigger conversation with LaMelo Ball cards is what LaMelo Ball cards are you even buying right now? And if you have LaMelo Ball cards that went down in price, well, I don't know why you were buying LaMelo Ball to begin with right now. It's just too early for him, just too early. Be patient. Even if you love the guy, just be patient. Know that he's on your radar. Like Shai Gilgeous, for example, really good player. He's doing really, really well right now, but just wait because he's eventually going to be on a good team. That's when you buy SGA cards. Buying SGA right now when he's on a bad team, that doesn't really mean anything, but at least you're seeing him perform, and that's exciting. So that's my take on LaMelo Ball. Really sad. He was playing really
sad.
Well.
Really sad.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite players too. Like I just like there's a certain swagger with him. And,
he's awesome. He's awesome.
Right?
And I hate the whole Ball family. Like I hate LeVar Ball. It really bothers me. But he's really damn good. Really good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our last question. What's the best way to diversify my sports card portfolio? Parenthesis, mix of modern, vintage, etc.
Yeah, so like the latest post I just put up was how I do my mix of strategy, right? So I'm about 70% in vintage and Hall of Fame, 20% in the stars, which includes Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Harden, those guys, Kevin Durant, even would fall in the star category for me. And then I've got only 10% in prospects. So that's my John Morant, Jason Tatum. That's my prospect category. Luka isn't even my prospect category. Luka is still a prospect. He's not even a star for me yet. He's the top of the prospect category, but he's in my prospect category regardless. But that's how I would do it. I would weight it heavily towards vintage and Hall of Fame. Those guys are not going to get hurt. They're not going to break a leg. They're not going to get a high ankle sprain right now. It's just, but LeBron is in my legends category because he's just LeBron James and he's always going to be a legend. But I would weight it heavily towards guys like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan when you're first starting. Like that's just from a risk standpoint, sports cards are already risky. Like we all have to recognize that sports cards in general are very, very risky as an asset class. And at any point, the card market really can just pop. Like it can happen, especially if something in the broader economic world happens, like say we start having stock market crashes here in the US and over there, and it starts affecting everything.
Right.
That's going to put a damper on cards. Like this is a luxury purchase. So being safe in your card market is really important to me, at least. And I think it's smart for everyone. Like that's how I would think about diversification is make sure your portfolio is safe and low risk, and then add in your modern and your stars for fun. But that's how I would do it. So.
Right.
Okay.
More vintage, man. Yeah. Personally, I don't have any vintage cards, so I think I gotta get on that.
I have I got 90s guys. Like I've got Kobe, Tim Duncan, Shaq, those guys, but I don't have any vintage stuff just yet. Like I don't have any Magic, Larry Bird, Julius Erving. Right. I don't have any of those cards. I'm looking at it right now. But that's how I would think about it, because it does help to have that when your portfolio is nice and stable, because you have cards that even if they're dipping right now, are going to come back up. It makes you, from a mindset standpoint, way more chill. If you have a lot of your stuff in risky prospects and risky cards, it's hard to stay stable. It's hard to stay like not panicking all the time, because as soon as anything happens, you're like, oh shit, now my whole collection's getting, it's getting hurt. And even when Kobe Bryant cards dip, it doesn't bother me. I'm like, it doesn't bother me at all, because I'm like, okay, that's okay. Kobe Bryant cards are always going to be fine, know? So that's how I think it's helped me a ton. So.
All right. Well, that about does it for our Q&A segment. Thank you for those who submitted their questions. We hope we were able to answer and provide value to you guys. And yeah, I mean, apologies for extending a bit. We got carried away and had fun.
Even I told you guys, let's do a 30, 40-minute interview. And I'm sitting here an hour and 10 minutes in. And I love, this is where when I'm in it, I love talking about it.
Yeah.
So.
It's hard to, like, when
short.
you're in it already, But yeah, anyway, before we head out, do you have anything you'd like to plug in?
The Slab Talk. Follow me on Instagram at the Slab Talk. And then, follow my YouTube channel and my podcast. I love talking about this stuff. I try to bring a ton of value to everyone that's, listening. I like teaching. So I want my channel to be educational. So, and then DM me. I'm happy to talk cards. I do this thing where people will, text me messages or questions, and I'll give them audio message takes, and I've had people who bounce ideas off of me before they ever buy and sell. And it's just one other person to like, hey, just make sure I'm doing this okay, or how would you think about it? And it just helps. I don't ever tell anybody what to do, but I just like to be that second person that you get to bounce ideas off of. So follow my Instagram, feel free to DM me, follow my YouTube, follow my podcast, and rate and review and share. I appreciate it. I'm trying to grow the platform and the content, and I appreciate you guys having me on the interview. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, that wraps up our episode, man. What a great episode. Aamil gave us a great glimpse of the Dallas Card Show. Hopefully we get one here in the Philippines or somewhere near. Gave such a great learning experience. Again, thank you so much. Like, personally, myself, I really wish I had a notebook, but I'm definitely. That's why we have a podcast episode. Just rewatch, take notes, yeah, that about does it. So yeah, here, just to end, we have Sir Aamil Sarfani, or the Slab Talk. Don't forget to follow him on IG and on YouTube. And once again, I'm your co-host, Myko Garcia.
And I am your host, Justin Alvarado. And this is the MVP podcast. And don't forget, do it different.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for watching. If you dig that video, please don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. And last but not least, don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any video.